Tonight, mayhem in a Minneapolis neighborhood. Anti-ICE protesters banging on federal officers' vehicles who deployed tear gas to disperse crowds.
Look at this behind me. You can see people arguing with that Border Patrol agent, with this federal officer. We're seeing scenes like this popping up across Minneapolis.
And this video showing immigration officers pulling someone out of a car who they say was impeding enforcement operations.
6:47 a.m. South Minneapolis. The morning was cold, silent. Ice coated the streets. Then a single gunshot shattered everything. An ICE agent fired through a car window. The driver, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, slumped forward, dead in seconds. Federal agents claimed self-defense. Witnesses said she posed no threat. The bullet did not just end a life. It ignited a firestorm. If you want the full truth about what happened next, hit like so this story reaches more people. Within 72 hours, Minneapolis erupted. Protests flooded downtown. Whistles pierced the air. Federal agents faced crowds screaming for justice. But what the media did not report was darker. The shooting was not random. It was part of the largest immigration enforcement operation in American history. Over 2,400 federal agents. ICE, DHS, DEA, FBI. They called it Operation Metro Surge. And the targeting was deliberate. Somali neighborhoods, immigrant communities, areas where sanctuary policies had drawn federal fury for years. The city never asked for this invasion. The White House sent them anyway. Mayor Jacob Frey stood before cameras, shaking with rage. "I see, get the hell out of our city," he said. His voice cracked. Behind closed doors, federal prosecutors were already building something bigger. The shooting was a flashpoint. The operation beneath it was a machine. Let me show you. December 5th, 2025. 5 weeks earlier, federal agents began knocking on doors across Minneapolis. Unmarked vehicles. Early morning entries. Targeted arrests executed with military precision. They called it enhanced enforcement. Residents called it terror. In the first wave, ICE arrested 12 individuals. 5 Somali nationals. 6 Mexican. 1 Salvadoran. The charges varied. Illegal re-entry. Outstanding warrants. Immigration violations. But the pattern was unmistakable. This was not about crime. This was about demographics. Comment truth if you believe this operation targeted specific communities. By December 12th, arrests climbed past 400. Pedophiles, rapists, violent offenders. DHS released photos and names. The rhetoric escalated. Federal press releases framed every arrest as a victory against the worst of the worst. Local leaders called it racial profiling. Then came the hotel. 3:22 a.m. December 18th, 2025. Minneapolis downtown district. A 14-story hotel near the interstate went dark. Federal teams surrounded every exit. Elevators froze between floors. Stairwells locked down. Battering rams struck reinforced doors. Flashlights cut through hallways. Agents moved floor by floor. In less than 90 minutes, ICE detained 83 individuals. 57 Somali nationals. 17 Mexicans. 9 Venezuelans. Luggage was torn apart. False documents surfaced. Agents recovered 41 forged passports. Prepaid phones. Envelopes stuffed with cash. Then the operation escalated. Search teams found 22 firearms. Loaded pistols. AR-style rifles. Ammunition stacked in maintenance closets. Cocaine bricks. Fentanyl packaged for distribution. Cash totals exceeded $1.7 million. What began as immigration enforcement became a federal narcotics investigation. If this shocks you, hit like now. The hotel was not a shelter. It was a distribution hub. Phone records pulled from seized devices revealed encrypted communications. Delivery schedules. Routes spanning 6 states. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Michigan. DEA analysts worked through the night. Numbers aligned. Locations matched. Names repeated. At the center were 2 figures who did not fit the pattern. Khalif Nur, 47 years old. A Somali-born community organizer with political connections reaching City Hall. Hoden Sharif, 43. An immigration attorney practicing law in Minneapolis for over a decade. On paper, they were pillars of the community. In reality, federal investigators believed they were architects of a decade-long smuggling and trafficking network. Somali migrants were brought into the United States illegally, provided false identities, absorbed into the network as drivers, guards, Couriers. Loyalty was enforced through debt, threats, family pressure abroad. The network did not just move people, it moved product. Drugs flowed north from Mexico and Colombia, then spread outward from Minneapolis across state lines. FBI analysts later linked the network to 19 gang-related deaths across the Twin Cities. Violent incidents previously treated as isolated crimes. The corruption extended further than anyone expected. Court filings revealed direct financial ties to a sitting Minneapolis council member. Campaign contributions funneled through shell companies. Payments disguised as consulting fees. Surveillance teams picked up movement. 7:14 a.m. January 3, 2026. Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. Khalif and Hoden arrived separately. Minimal luggage. Newly issued passports. One-way international tickets. They were running. ICE and FBI units closed the terminal in sections. Facial recognition tracked them through cameras. At 7:19 a.m., agents converged. The arrest lasted 18 seconds. No resistance, no speeches, just handcuffs snapping shut in the middle of the departure hall. With their detention, the network lost its shield. Within hours, prosecutors approved expanded warrants. Financial trails unlocked. Names buried for years surfaced at once. What began as immigration enforcement had transformed into a national conspiracy investigation. And Minneapolis was only the beginning. Type yes if you believe this network survived because of protection from inside the system. 4 days later, Renee Nicole Good was shot dead during an ICE operation. The officer claimed she tried to run him over. Witnesses said she was barely moving. The shooting sparked protests. But it also accelerated the operation. Federal command authorized the largest coordinated enforcement surge in U.S. history. Over 2,000 additional agents deployed to Minneapolis. The message was clear. Resistance would be met with overwhelming force. Sanctuary policies would be crushed. And anyone standing in the way would pay the price. By January 8th, total arrests exceeded 1,500 individuals. Murderers, gang members, immigration violators. The categories blurred. Federal press releases celebrated every number. Local communities mourned every family torn apart. The operation did not stop at arrests. It went deeper. 4 a.m. January 10th, 2026. 6 states. One moment. Federal warrants went live simultaneously across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, and Michigan. More than 1,200 agents surged into position. FBI, ICE, DEA, DHS. Moving as a single force. Roads sealed. Power grids monitored. The operation unfolded with military precision. Northern Minnesota. A reinforced door exploded inward. Armed lookouts scattered. Flashbangs detonated. Gunfire erupted. Short. Violent. 2 suspects were shot resisting arrest. 1 federal agent took a round to the vest and was pulled back under cover. 4:18 a.m. Milwaukee outskirts. A converted auto shop became a battlefield. A suspect opened fire from an elevated platform. Agents returned fire. The threat was neutralized. Inside, pallets of drugs stacked shoulder high. Cocaine bricks stamped and sealed. Fentanyl vacuum-packed by the kilogram. Ready for immediate transport. 4:37 a.m. South Chicago. Simultaneous entries hit an apartment complex across 3 floors. Suspects fled through stairwells. 1 fired blindly through drywall. Another attempted to dump a weapon over a balcony. Agents pinned them down. Secured the building. Began methodical searches. Rifles. Handguns. Cash pulled from walls, vents, floor compartments. By sunrise, the scale was unmistakable. Across 73 raid locations, federal teams encountered barricades. Early warning alarms. Weapons staged for immediate use. 4 separate firefights erupted within the first 36 hours. 7 cartel enforcers were killed while resisting arrest. 2 federal agents were wounded. Both survived. Comment justice if you believe this operation was necessary. The arrests mounted rapidly. By end of day 1, 412 suspects were in custody. Over 260 direct cartel operatives. Dozens more detained for weapons, trafficking, conspiracy charges. By end of day 2, total arrests exceeded 640 individuals. Many tied directly to interstate drug transport, armed enforcement, money laundering cells. Seizures matched the violence. Convoys rolled out loaded with tons of cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamine. Safes cracked open revealed tens of millions of dollars in cash. Armories surfaced. Hundreds of firearms. magazines taped together, ammunition stacked by the crate. Digital forensics teams cloned servers on site, freezing transaction ledgers mid-update. What made the fighting more dangerous was proximity. Some targets were minutes from schools, residential neighborhoods, drugs stored beside children's beds, weapons hidden behind false panels in family homes. Every breach carried the risk of ambush, civilian casualties. By day 2, Federal Command confirmed it. This was not a local operation. It was a hardened interstate cartel network, prepared for violence, embedded deep inside America's heartland. This was not a sweep. It was a war. As the smoke cleared, investigators began reconstructing what the network had done before anyone noticed. The timeline was longer and darker than expected. Financial records, encrypted ledgers, witness testimony showed the operation had been active for nearly 10 years. What started as small-scale smuggling evolved into an industrial pipeline. Drugs moved north from Mexico and Colombia, crossed the border hidden inside commercial shipments, then flowed outward from Minneapolis like blood through arteries. The volume stunned veteran agents. Analysts conservatively estimated hundreds of tons of narcotics had entered the United States through this network. Cocaine for speed and profit, methamphetamine for control, fentanyl for devastation. Each shipment was broken down, redistributed, pushed into cities and rural towns across the Midwest. The human cost was measurable. Emergency room data showed overdose deaths in key Minnesota counties had quadrupled over the past decade. In some neighborhoods, fentanyl-related fatalities spiked by more than 300% in just 3 years. Violent crime followed the drugs. Homicides climbed. Armed robberies became routine. Turf disputes escalated into drive-by shootings. Executions carried out in parking lots. Apartment stairwells. Every spike lined up with the network's expansion. If you believe corruption deserves zero tolerance, like this video now. Witnesses described how migrants brought in illegally were forced into roles almost immediately. Some drove shipments. Others guarded stash houses. Many were trapped by fabricated debts, threatened with exposure, warned that family members back home would suffer if they refused. Leaving was not an option. Cooperation was enforced through fear. The drugs did not stay in criminal circles. Fentanyl leaked into counterfeit pills sold to teenagers. Cocaine fueled gang violence. Money laundering schemes. Meth kept users awake for days, hollowing out entire blocks. Social workers described neighborhoods where addiction spread faster than any public health response could follow. Behind it all was discipline. Routes rotated every few weeks. Vehicles abandoned and replaced. Communications shifted constantly. When law enforcement pressure increased in one area, shipments rerouted overnight. The network adapted faster than local agencies could track, until the hotel raid cracked the system open. As federal teams mapped the damage, a pattern became impossible to ignore. The violence was not random. The overdoses were not accidental. They were predictable outcomes of a machine designed to maximize profit regardless of casualties. In internal briefings, one figure circulated quietly. Tens of thousands of lives impacted, directly or indirectly, by the drugs moved through this single organization. For years, the network operated in plain sight, hidden behind legal titles, community status, institutional blind spots. Judges signed orders. Lawyers filed motions. Police patrols looked the other way. Meanwhile, entire neighborhoods paid the price. By the time the scale was fully understood, there was no debate left. This was not just a criminal enterprise. It was a long-running assault on public safety. And the reckoning had only just begun. Share this so more people understand the scale of what happened. Once the arrests stabilized, the investigation turned inward. What agents feared quietly during the raids was now undeniable. The network had not survived for nearly a decade through secrecy alone. It had survived because parts of the system meant to stop it had been compromised. Interrogations from mid-level operatives began to align. Names repeated. Payments matched bank records. Phone logs connected officers to vehicles that should never have passed inspection. The corruption was not theoretical. It was documented, dated, signed. Over the next 72 hours, internal affairs units moved in parallel with federal prosecutors. Subpoenas issued in silence. Lockers searched. Home safes opened. The list grew longer by the hour. By the end of the week, 9 local police officers had been arrested. Some had taken cash to ignore traffic stops. Others provided advanced notice of raids. One officer admitted to escorting vehicles he knew were carrying narcotics, clearing intersections under the guise of routine patrol. Then came the name no one expected. a sitting police captain. Investigators alleged he had accepted regular payments to redirect manpower away from key corridors, to suppress internal complaints. Emails recovered from archived servers showed deliberate interference in investigations. Complaints labeled clerical errors. Evidence quietly buried. The betrayal cut deep. Public trust collapsed overnight. Officers who had spent years on the street found themselves questioned by their own communities. Protests reignited, not just against enforcement, but against the realization that criminals had worn badges. The corruption did not stop at law enforcement. Financial audits uncovered municipal officials who approved suspicious contracts, tied to shell companies. Immigration consultants funneled clients directly into the network. Court clerks altered filing dates. Every small favor, every quiet shortcut, added another brick to the cartel's protection. In closed-door briefings, prosecutors used one word repeatedly: ecosystem. This was not a single bad actor, not a handful of bribes. It was an environment where corruption could survive unnoticed, normalized through routine, justified as pragmatism. The network paid for silence, and silence became a habit. Comment "No corruption" if you believe badges should never protect criminals. The consequences were immediate. Entire departments placed under federal oversight. Pending cases reopened. Convictions tied to compromised officers were flagged for review. Careers ended in handcuffs. Reputations built over decades collapsed in days. For agents who had fought through gunfire only days earlier, this phase carried a different weight. It was easier to confront armed traffickers than to accept how deeply the damage had spread. But the exposure served a purpose. By dismantling the internal shield, investigators ensured the network could not regenerate. Routes stayed closed. Replacements failed to move. Without protection, shipments stalled. Alliances fractured. The illusion of immunity was gone. What remained was accountability. Slow, methodical, unforgiving. And for the first time in years, the system began to clean itself from the inside out. In the weeks that followed, Minneapolis began to change. The noise faded first. Sirens became less frequent. Helicopters disappeared from the night sky. Corners once claimed by dealers fell quiet. Not because fear vanished, but because the supply had been severed. Federal analysts confirmed what local residents were already sensing. The flow of drugs had been interrupted at its source. Within 30 days, overdose admissions in key Minnesota hospitals dropped by nearly 40%. Street-level seizures declined, not because enforcement slowed, but because distribution networks had collapsed. Dealers who once operated openly vanished, or turned on each other. Without protection, without product, survival became uncertain. The legal fallout was relentless. Federal prosecutors filed hundreds of indictments tied directly to the network. Charges ranged from narcotics trafficking and weapons violations to racketeering, human smuggling, money laundering, corruption. Several cases were immediately designated as high-priority national security prosecutions, fast-tracked through federal courts. For Khalif Nur and Hoden Sharif, the fall was absolute. Assets frozen within hours. Properties seized. Accounts drained and cataloged. Their professional legacies erased almost overnight. But the damage extended far beyond two names. Families came forward. Parents who had lost children to overdoses. Residents who had fled neighborhoods consumed by violence. Migrants who described being trapped in a system they never understood. Until it was too late. Their stories filled transcripts, affidavits, closed-session testimonies that painted a picture of long-term harm impossible to ignore. Federal officials acknowledged the scale openly. This operation, they said, was not a victory. It was a warning, a demonstration of how quickly organized crime could root itself inside legal institutions. When oversight failed, when complacency set in, the cartel had not relied on brute force alone. It relied on trust, appearances, silence. That silence was broken. If you believe accountability is the only line that keeps society intact, hit like. New oversight measures were announced. Joint task forces expanded. Data sharing protocols tightened. For the first time in years, federal and local agencies operated without internal obstruction. The gaps that once allowed the network to thrive were sealed, one by one. Still, no one claimed the city was healed. Too many lives had already been lost. Too many neighborhoods hollowed out by addiction and fear. The scars would not fade quickly. Some would never fade at all. Yet something fundamental had shifted. The myth of untouchability was gone. The belief that power, status, or connections could shield criminal empires from accountability had collapsed. Under the weight of evidence, under enforcement, What began with a single gunshot had unraveled a decade-long conspiracy and forced a reckoning that could no longer be delayed. For Minneapolis and for the states caught in the network's shadow, the message was clear. The danger had been real. The cost had been staggering. And when the line was finally crossed, the response was absolute. When the final warrants were served and the last evidence trucks rolled out of Minneapolis, something unfamiliar settled over the city. Not relief, not celebration, silence, the kind that forces a reckoning. For years, danger had moved quietly through courtrooms, neighborhoods, highways, hidden behind titles, paperwork, routine decisions no one thought to question. What the investigation revealed was not simply a criminal network, but how close an entire system came to breaking, without anyone noticing. Share this story so the warning outlives the arrests. This operation proved a hard truth. Institutions do not fail all at once. They erode. One ignored warning, one delayed file, one compromised decision at a time. The network did not rely solely on violence or secrecy. It relied on comfort, on the belief that people in authority could be trusted without scrutiny. That belief became its strongest weapon. The lesson is uncomfortable but necessary. Corruption rarely announces itself. It wears familiarity. It hides in legal language, professional reputations, closed meetings justified as procedure. When oversight weakens, power stops serving the public and begins protecting itself. By the time the damage becomes visible, communities are already paying the price. In addiction, violence, lives lost without headlines. This case also shattered a dangerous myth. That crime exists only at the margins of society. Here, it sat behind desks, signed documents, issued rulings. The most destructive actors were not those pulling triggers, but those opening doors, delaying consequences, silencing questions. Law enforcement can confront armed threats. What nearly defeated this system was betrayal from within. Yet there is another truth in what followed. Once the internal shield was removed, the network collapsed quickly. Routes failed, payments stopped, protection vanished. Accountability, when applied without exception, worked exactly as intended. Oversight restored momentum. Transparency became a deterrent. The system did not heal overnight, but it began to defend itself again. The warning now belongs to all of us. Justice cannot be outsourced to titles or uniforms. It depends on vigilance, on the refusal to accept silence as normal, and on the courage to question authority when facts no longer align. When citizens disengage, corruption gains room to breathe. When scrutiny fades, criminal power grows comfortable. This story does not end with arrests. It ends with responsibility. Because the next network will not look exactly like this one. It never does. But the conditions that allow it to grow are always the same. If you believe no badge, robe, or position should ever place someone above the law, comment never again. If you believe accountability is the only line that keeps society intact, hit like. And if you believe silence protects the wrong people, share this story. The fight for transparency never ends. It requires constant attention, constant questioning, constant pressure on those who hold power. Minneapolis learned this lesson the hard way. The question now is whether the rest of America will pay attention, or whether the next city, the next network, the next betrayal, will catch us sleeping once again. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because this is only the beginning. The investigation continues. More names will surface. More corruption will be exposed. And the truth will keep coming, no matter who tries to bury it.